evening, everybody, and welcome along to this edition of The Final Whistle on Lair Media. Usual email info@lairmedia.tv, and thanks to everybody who's taken the time to view these shows. It's very much appreciated. Press the red button on the right hand side to subscribe to our channel, tell all your friends, and give us a like and a share as well, which is important. Good evening, Anna Moore.
Good evening, Pat.
And welcome. Good evening, Martin, and welcome.
Good evening, Pat.
Good evening, Joe Waters, and welcome.
Good evening, Pat.
And good evening, Chris, and welcome.
Good evening, guys. Good evening, Pat.
Well, I suppose it was a foregone conclusion for a long time. Man City won the Premiership. We sat off with soccer. Man City won the Premiership. Everybody knows that now. Even though Liverpool were runners-up, even though Liverpool only lost 2 games in the whole year, I must say that, but they drew 8, which was their downfall, you know. Anyway, congratulations to Man City. 4 times in the last 5 years or something. I don't know what it does. I'm happy back. I'm an old fogey. I'm a Stanley Matthews type of guy and a George Best type of guy, traditional soccer player, where you went down to Main Road to the match and you went to Old Trafford and you went to Highbury, but no more. Such is progress, they call it. I don't know, lads. I don't know. Now, Martin, did you see some of the soccer over the weekend?
Yeah, I tuned in yesterday. It was kind of like when the GA was kind of coming to a kind of a halt where the games looked to be coming to a bit of an anticlimax. I switched over to see the second half of the soccer, kind of close to the last 30 minutes, and I think Villa were 1-up at the time against City, and Coutinho scored to make it 2-0, and then Steven Gerrard took him off, and the game just totally shifted. So meanwhile, while that was on, Liverpool were 1-1 with Wolves, and were struggling to score, and were very lucky not to concede a second goal. A couple of, I suppose, Wolves being 3-on-2 at times, and the final ball let them down. But it was as a Manchester United supporter, it was a difficult watch because I wouldn't be in favour of any of the two of them to win the league, but. I suppose you were never going to think that City were going to let it go. Like they're around a while now, this team, and I just felt like something was going to happen, and it did. And once they got one back, like they just dominated from then on. And I think there was one period of play where City had actually gone 3-2 up, but Liverpool then scored with Salah, but Salah didn't know that City had gone, and he was like he was ecstatic when he scored, and like it's rare you see him with such joy when scoring. Like this was a different type of kind of a joy that he was showing, and runs to the crowd, and I think there's a picture of a guy in the crowd holding up 3-2 with his fingers, and next thing you know, Salah realizes it's over.
Of course, your beloved Liverpool. And of course, all they could do is do their own job, is to win. And they did that, obviously. But City, as Martin said, were never going to slip up in that match, really. They'd be too strong for it.
No, I didn't think that Liverpool were going to win the league on Saturday. And I have to be honest now, when Villa did go 2-up, I mean, my daughter was jumping around. At least now she said we have a chance, whereas before you would have thought you'd had no chance, but at least they give us a chance. But I mean, you're watching them all, and they're all saying, "Oh, Liverpool, this, Liverpool, that." But Liverpool are in 3. They have 2 trophies won. They're in for another one. They've won more matches. They've played more matches. They're going to play to the very last day of the soccer season. And I can tell you, as a Liverpool supporter, I'm very proud of Liverpool. I really am.
Now, Joe followed that. Joe, did you get to see a bit of the soccer?
I did. I watched the City game, actually. I had a choice of a few of them, but I stuck with that one just because the sheer drama of the City game and going a goal down. And just as Martin said there, Coutinho scoring, and he looked like he was having a terrific game. And then they bring him off. And I don't know whether bringing him off was the catalyst, or bringing Gundogan on for City to come on and change the game for them. But having said that, the centre forward for Villa had a real good chance as well at 2-0. I think that Villa were going pretty much route one. The goalkeeper was belting the ball up the field, and City were not handling it very well at the back. And I really thought that at one stage that City had really shot their ball, that they were done. They looked bereft of ideas. They were putting crosses into the box that they never put into the box. And they just looked rattled. Their short game, they were hurried in their passes. And it was something that I hadn't seen from them before. But, the same thing happened to them against West Ham, though. West Ham broken them a couple of times. And it could have been, all over there. So, but then, the quality they have, and in 5 minutes, they turned the game around.
You're right, Joe. The same thing happened to them against Real Madrid. Chris, could you tell me one thing? Why aren't they loved as a team? Why isn't there a warm glow about Man City?
It's because the accusation out there is that they bought their titles, that they would be nowhere without the massive investment that they've got. But you could say that about a couple of teams around the world like that. But it just, irrespective of how much money they had, they are human. And as Joe says, they were put to the pin of their collar, as the saying goes. And I do feel that the second goal was the one that turned. I thought it was a poor goal. It was a shot from 20 yards, which I felt the goalie should have done better. The goalie would be looking at that going, really, how did I let that one slip in? And once they got the third one, I think it's very similar to the match they played against QPR in 2012, where they were down a couple of times, and I just got, and I had a very animated young lad in the house here yesterday. We had 4 screens going with the 2 hurling matches and the 2 soccer matches, and he was up and down like a yo-yo. And to be honest with you, as a neutral, it was a great watch. But if I was a Man City fan, I would just be confident enough that if they got one, they would get 3 or 4. They were going to get them. You know what I mean? Because they are fit. I think Aston Villa threw everything into the first hour.
Yeah.
And that can tell on teams as well. It's very difficult to chase the ball. Okay, they got 2 goals and there were 2 decent goals, but it's very difficult to keep chasing. But the reason, the question that you asked about whether, listen, they're not liked because of the money. Newcastle are going to feel the same kind of unloved attitude in the next couple of years. And, teams like that will feel it. Simple as that.
And Martin, they're champions now, but what about the fact that your team of the season, would you have what about Man United? Just the fact that what I wanted to ask you was, Spurs finished now 4th in the league, Tottenham Hotspur. Would you consider that a very good season for them, considering the carry-on of the club early on in the year, the carry-on of some players that Conte had to face? I think it's a testament of the man himself that he kept it going in the club, and they had a decent year.
Well, I think it's been a great kind of like, I suppose, into the season for Tottenham, especially to get one over Arsenal and come, in that battle for 4th place. Regarding team of the year, I definitely wouldn't be suggesting Manchester United, that's for sure, because that's been an absolute shambles. I think Brighton, in fairness to them, have had a phenomenal season. I think it's their highest ever finish in the Premier League, to finish 9th.
You're right. Brighton and Brentford will be my 2 teams of the year.
Yeah, so with Man City and Liverpool, you kind of know what to expect. They're going to be battling it out for the title. Chelsea, I thought, were a bit disappointing, but there's real valid reasons for that when you've such consternation behind the scenes with the ownership of the club and stuff like that. It has to fall into the team. Then I suppose you had the battle for 4th, and I suppose United were never in that battle really between Tottenham and Arsenal. In fairness to Arsenal, they got a good run of games going, and as usual, they seem to play well against the weaker teams and get results. And then it comes into the top 4 teams, top 5 teams, and they tend to flatter to deceive. I saw a game recently where they were well beaten away to Crystal Palace. Then they were well beaten by Tottenham. So when the games that mattered, where they needed to get points, they didn't get them. And of course, really yesterday there wasn't. I know there wasn't a point, I think, between them before the start of the games. But Tottenham were never going to lose away to or drop points away to Norwich. So there wasn't really a whole lot of pressure on Arsenal, and they go out and just stuff Everton.
Now, coming up for next season, you have Fulham, Bournemouth, and probably Notts Forest might beat Huddersfield next Friday. The final is on. We'll say Notts Forest, Fulham, and Bournemouth. What kind of a difference will they make in the league? We don't know that. What kind of resources they have, I don't know myself. The team, Garth Crooks picked his team of the year, lads. I'll just read it out for you. In goals, he had Alisson. The back 3, Rudiger, Van Dijk, and Diaz. The 4 across the middle, Alexander Trent-Arnold, De Bruyne, Eriksen, and Cancelo. Up front, then he had 3, Son, Mane, and Salah.
Is that Christian Eriksen?
Yeah.
Sure, he only played about maybe 10 matches.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put him in. Look, I understand he's sentimental reasons for doing that, but I certainly wouldn't put Christian Eriksen. It's a season.
One of the top scorers in the league with 23 goals each.
Yeah, but I wouldn't put Christian Eriksen in that team.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he's played enough games. He hasn't played enough games. I mean, it was probably, what was it, February, March when he joined Brentford, maybe end of January.
I suppose.
February. No, I wouldn't put him in.
The influence he's had on Brentford has been fantastic.
Brentford played well before he joined them. Brentford played very well. You know what I mean? I mean, all he did was supplement it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Copper fastness. Give them a little bit more going up front, which is what they were lacking. I can understand that, but to put him in a team of the year like that. Now I haven't studied it, so I need to find out who I would put in place of him. But I'm a bit surprised he would be in a team of the year like that.
I would put Thiago in front of him.
Is he not named Thiago?
No.
Come on, stop.
He's had a great season.
Thiago is probably the most influential player on that Liverpool team. And if he's not fit for Saturday, then they'll know about it, because he basically kept Liverpool going. He is the engine of that club.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Between him and De Bruyne, I think the 2 best players in the league.
100%.
Well, I'm delighted to see Son up there in the team, because I'm a huge fan of Son. I think he's a fantastic player. He's just a fantastic attitude. He's never in trouble. And goes about his business. He's a fantastic player, I think. A lot of professionals could learn how to behave like him on and off the field as well. Anyway, Manchester United, we were saying them all the year for different reasons. They finished 6th with 58 points. They won 16 games out of 38. Obviously, the club are in trouble as a top club, but you look all over Europe. You look at Real Madrid, look at Barcelona. They're all in serious trouble financially speaking. I mean, an awful lot of them. And I was delighted to see that AC Milan won the title in Italy after 11 years of a gap. And of course, there's a Cork connection now with AC Milan, lads. I know you probably didn't realise this, but I'm going to tell you all about it. Do you know Rob Heffernan, our Walker, our famous Walker? His son signed there last year for AC Milan, and they're really, really very enthusiastically raving about him, about his skill level and all of that. Anyway, you heard it here first on the final whistle.
I thought you were going to claim Ibrahimovic there for a minute.
And Joe, your own team are playing tonight.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
They're playing that.
Joe? Are they in the playoffs, Joe?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, great. That's great.
Yeah, they're playing that County tonight in a loser-out game.
Sunderland, our old stamping ground, Sunderland made it finally up to the championship this year. I was delighted with it. I always said something, ever since that bald-headed man won that famous FA Cup. Some of you are way too young to remember Bob Stokoe. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
In 1974, was it, Joe?
73.
No, wasn't 74.
73. 73. 1-0.
Sunderland.
Yeah.
Sunderland won the FA Cup with
Liverpool beat Newcastle 3-0 in 74.
Yeah.
Take my word for it.
We'll come back. We'll come back to the soccer again, and we'll come back to Man United again, because as a top club, I mean, they're very well off. They have plenty of money, but as we see in a club like that, money doesn't really buy. But just before we leave soccer, Martin, as a Man United supporter, I don't know about that manager. There's a mixed reaction to him.
Well, we'll see in a couple of months' time. You have to give the guy the opportunity to I suppose, to get the players that he needs to, I suppose, root out what's no longer required in the club. So he needs time. Like, all managers need time, and he needs to be given time, because this is not going to happen like in a couple of weeks. This is going to take years, and he's going to need that time to, I suppose, root out the bad eggs, because we know that dressing room stinks. And those guys need to go, because when you hear so many leaks going into the media, I never hear leaks from Liverpool. I never hear leaks from Manchester City. I never hear leaks from Chelsea, but you hear plenty of leaks from Manchester United, and players leaking stuff out to the media, essentially looking for, I suppose, a way out or a new contract or something beneficial to them and not beneficial to the club or the team. And that's what's happening. And it needs a full, like, you could name 10 to 12 players that need to be shifted out of the place.
But do you think you'd be allowed to do that, Martin?
I don't know. I wouldn't have confidence in the club itself, the way it's currently being run. I don't think it's run to win trophies. I think it's run to make profits. And there's a huge difference. Now, I'm not saying all clubs are run to win trophies only. Obviously, they want to make money and make profits and whatever, all that kind of stuff. But United seem to be definitely down the route of trophies actually do not matter, because we don't seem to be contending in anything. Like last season was probably the first season in a long time where they had a chance of winning something when they got to the final of the UEFA Cup, and they lost to the Spanish team on penalties. I think that really was the end of this team, losing that game. If they'd won that game, I think they could have kicked on under Solskjaer to some degree. But losing that game, I think it was like sticking a pin in a balloon. It just all folded. And
we have to mention Rangers before we leave. Rangers were beaten by Frankfurt. Was it a penalty shootout, was it? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was.
Fair play to them. They bounced back and won the Scottish Cup over the weekend against Hearts. So, I mean, fair play to them. They did that, They've had their own troubles. Is there any club without troubles? But anyway, we wish them all well for the coming year. The final wish is a program on their media. Tell all your friends. Press the red button on the right hand side to subscribe and give us a like as well. info@theirmedia.tv is our email for all your comments. But the PGA was on over the weekend. I think last weekend, the final whistle, the two golfing punters spoke glowingly of Justin Thomas. He did it. We're delighted he did it, of course. We're delighted once we get it right, and they're tuned in. Did you see it, Chris? Were you watching?
I did. I kind of stayed up a little bit later than I did because it was a 3-hole combined playoff at the end. But it was it was a great finish. I felt sorry for the Chilean Pereira coming down the last. They had remnants of Jean van der Velde in 1999 in Carnoustie in the British Open. I don't know what he was thinking, trying to do a stinger with a driver against the breeze. Don't understand it. It was probably his worst swing of the entire 4 days. It was convoluted. It was a swing of pure panic, I think, at the end of the day, and indecision. and there was probably too many things going on in his head at that one time, and that can happen. That pressure can do that to you. But to be honest with you, Thomas, I think he created a record for the PGA with a 7-shot deficit that he overturned, and it was like he was coming under the radar. And I said to the young lad, I said, "What about hole 10?" I says, "Hey, gee, Justin Thomas is kind of coming out of here nowhere, like left field." I says he has because everyone was watching McIlroy 4 birdies in a row, and then he was getting close, but not close, no cigar, and all of a sudden Thomas was just basically taking his opportunities when they come and hanging on for other people's mistakes. And yeah, I mean, he'd be the first one to tell you that he profited from other people's mistakes, because he shot 67. The others dropped 4 shots. So that, it was obvious that to make up that ground, he would have to have other people making more mistakes than he would get birdies. And that's how it happened. But great finish. I think the great thing about his win was when he got that opportunity, he just grabbed it by the scruff of the neck and took it. And he never gave Zalatoris an inch.
Do you see any of it, Martin? Any of the golf?
I just saw bits of it. I didn't stay up to the end now, but it was actually interesting that a friend of mine texted me earlier yesterday morning saying that have a check out of McIlroy's price. I think he was just over 100 to 1. My friend pal of mine would be big into the golf. He said, "Look, there's no pressure on him, and the chances are that the leader will collapse." And the leader had a 75, so he said, "Look, have a few euro each way in him." I didn't. I wouldn't be really too into it. So, but I did look at one point and I saw him at 3 under, and I was thinking, "Oh no, I've missed out big time." And I was actually, when I saw the result this morning, then and like the winner was 5 under. Like McIlroy was really close. I think he finished 2 under overall, so he was only 3 shots off the lead. But the 2 middle rounds, the 71 and the 74. Especially the 74, that was a kick in the teeth.
It's his wedge play, Martin. It's his wedge play. It's horrific. For that level, I spoke to Pat about this before we came on. He is at that level the worst wedge player in world golf. I mean, the second round was symptomatic of that, where he had 3 wedge shots from 100 yards out. One was from the rough. Sorry, 2 were from the rough. 1 was on the fairway, and not one of them went onto the green. And then he was hitting wedges from 110 yards out that were like 30 feet away, 40 feet away. Now, he's not the best putter in the world. No, he can be a streaky putter. But what he does is when he's playing wedge plays like that poorly, he's putting pressure on his putting. And that's always been his problem. Whether he'll improve or not at 34 years of age, I don't know. But it's so disappointing to watch. I mean, I'm glad you didn't put money on him, because if you did, you'd be infuriated. Because here's the thing, and I said this to Pat, the winning score of 5 under was what McIlroy was after the first round.
And all he had to do was 3 par rounds. Well,
it's a tough course and it's a hard competition, don't get me wrong. I mean, he actually at one stage in the first round was 7 under. Right?
Yeah.
And then when he went from 7 under 5, I turned on to the young man and I said, "Oh, here we go again." And he said, "Oh, you're so what was the phrase? He says, "Oh, you're so apocalyptic towards him." I says, "Well, listen, I'll tell you what now. I mean, that drop between 7 and 5, he'll regret that." And
Justin Thomas had 3 67s and a 74. So
solid play though. Solid play.
Seamus Power finished at 71, 69, 67 and 72. 2 middle rounds are good. Seamus Power, he did well. I think he won. He did well.
He came home with $400,000, and he's now got $2.5 million this year, and it's only the end of May.
Yeah, he's doing very well.
He's a fantastic player.
I think
if he was a hot putter, he'd win tournaments left, right, and centre. But he's a steady Eddie. He just does enough.
The saddest thing for me as an occasional fan of golf, and I've been at a few tournaments, was probably the greatest golfer in my lifetime, apart from Jack Nicklaus, is Tiger Woods. And Tiger Woods obviously had to retire after the 3rd round. I mean, we know why. I mean, there's no point in saying otherwise. I don't know why he played at all myself, because he's not fit. He's not up to it. The man, I think, has trouble even walking. Joe, did you see any of his rounds or anything?
I didn't see any of the rounds, but I saw his interview after the first round, I think it was. Yeah. And that, he's talking and he's saying it hurts to walk, it hurts to swing the club, and everything he does, it hurts him. And, I think he really, really wants to just finish the tournament to prove that he can. I don't think he has any thoughts that he's ever going to win another tournament. But I think he just does want to finish a tournament, and I think that's what he's gearing towards this year.
What age is he? Is he 50?
No,
he's short. He's got 45, 46.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned as why has he come back? Because he's not right. You can just, the guy can't walk properly. I was watching him in McIlroy, I think it was in the second round, and he was limping walking up the fairway.
The first tee, Martin. He was on the 10th tee on Thursday morning, and he had to turn the driver the other way around and walk down steps, and he used the driver as a crutch. And it was, and I said to the young lad at lunchtime when he came in, I said, "Wait, you see this?" As the camera was going down on the right hand side, going down the fairway of the 10th, he says, "Give me some breathing space," and he said it 3 times, and he stopped and he says, "Give me breathing space, lads." And I'm going, this guy's, and I said at the time, this guy's tetchy. Something's up here. His demeanor, his whole face for the first few holes showed a guy under pressure. And we had this discussion last week, lads. Duran is probably thinking like the way I'm thinking. It's to do with sponsorship, that he needs to be playing these tournaments to get the sponsorship, because he doesn't need the money, surely, you think, at this stage. But why is he doing it? It can't be just for pride, because why would you put yourself through that pain if you're going to do it?
I don't know what the answer is, but it's the sad side. As I said, the greatest golfer probably in my lifetime, other than Jack Nicklaus, of course.
Well, see, look, I don't want to be hogging the conversation, but to me, it's reminded me of the bad, sad days of Muhammad Ali, in a different way, and a different, obviously, pain threshold. Yeah. When you see someone like that who clearly did it because he felt he had no other choice because of variables that went on at that time, and he put himself in situations that was detrimental to his health. I can see something similar going like in this lane. The guy is clearly hobbling. He's wearing a compression sock day in, day out, to stop blood clots. And you just wonder, he's lucky it's golf that he's doing, because if it was any other sport, he would be in serious trouble.
We have to take advantage of Anna. In a nice way now, Anna, we're going to take advantage of you since you're on the show again. The Final Whistle is the programme. Lear Media TV and info at Lear Media is on. Press the red button on the right hand side. We have 2 more gold medals, Anna, to add to our list, our long list. 2 more women, O'Rourke and Broadhurst. She's from Castlereagh, is she that girl?
She herself and her sister Aoife, they boxed out of Castlereagh up to last year, so I will be giving Castlereagh more of the credit than the Olympic in Galway. Now, Olympic Boxing Club in Galway is a brilliant club, but they, as I said, and I always say it when I'm doing reports, it's the club that makes the boxers. She's been with, the sisters have been with Castlereagh since they were 9, 10 years of age, So, it's a club that makes you. They go to high performance to be polished off, but if you ask me about, it wouldn't have been Lisa we would have been expecting to win a medal. It would have been Aoife, her sister, who's European elite champion, Lisa is after kind of coming out of nowhere. And, I was away with Lisa as a youth and as a junior boxer. And I'm going to go back 3 years ago. If you told me in 3 years' time that Lisa would win a world elite title, I would have laughed at you. I really would have, But she was brought into high performance when other youth boxers weren't, because they needed for her to spar her sister. So it's really after paying off for her, And they're just the 2 sisters. They're lovely girls. She plays football for Mayo as well. On the senior team.
That's right, That's right. And Amy Broadhurst. Where's Amy from? Is it Dundalk?
Amy's from Dundalk. The same with Amy now. Amy boxed with Dalgan Boxing Club in Dundalk. Started there as a child. Her dad now, Tony, trains for the whole time. But she started, and again, last year, the year before, she changed to an Ulster club. Belly something. I can't think of the name of the club in Ulster, but she changed to the Ulster club. But the reason for that was to get to go to the Commonwealth Games.
That's right. That's right. I was reading that about her.
So that's why she changed to that club. Now we'll say 6 weeks, 2 months before Katie boxed, Amy went over for 2 weeks sparring with Katie Taylor over in Colorado. 2 weeks after that, Miles Casey from Limerick, he went over to Katie for 2 weeks. She asked them to go over sparring them. So Amy gained a lot, which Amy has won 5 European medals, 4 gold and a silver. Again, she's come up through our ranks. In boxing, we run the school boys, the junior and the youths, and then the 22s and the elites are run by the high performance. So we're very proud because Amy and Aoife and Lisa have come up through those ranks, but now they're high performance.
And do they get to keep the prize money, Anna?
Yes, they get to keep the. Amy got 100,000, and so did Lisa. If you won a silver medal, you got 50,000, and the 2 bronze medals got 25,000 each. Now, this is the new president that came in 2 years ago. He's Russian.
Yeah.
And it's Russian money, you know. I mean, that's what it is. And the IOC aren't that happy about. We're just after having our world body elections, and there was a guy from the Netherlands going against our present president, and he was said that he couldn't go because he broke protocol somewhere. So the IOC aren't happy about that.
Any representatives from Ireland on the world body?
No.
And tell me, what about this thing? If you want to comment on it, feel free to do so. If you don't, I'll understand. This thing, debacle about Bernard Dunn. He's
no
gone.
Comment. No comment.
I know you can't comment, and I know why, Anna. I'm not putting you on the spot, but lads, Jack Chambers was on the Minister for Sport in an interview, and Bernard Dunn. What is it? I'm trying to temper my question here. Are there people involved in Irish Amateur Boxing Association? Is it called the IAB, is it?
Yes.
That are there too long, they're set in their ways, and they're power hungry.
Well, you could say that. You could say that about me, so Pat, because I'm one of those people.
I'm not saying it about you.
And the thing about it is, they're not talking about the Central Council per se. They're speaking about the directors. Those are company. We are a company, and they're what they're trying to do is they're trying to bring in. We got out recommendations, 64 pages from Sports Council, how to run our boxing. Now, we, Central Council, run boxing, but the board of directors are there to bring funds in and to run a company. They're the company.
Yes.
Right? So, you know, I mean, we're all being blasted with the one card. They want younger people. And we have younger people. We're bringing them in. But you also have to have experience, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But the thing about it is that the younger people, Pat, you're up there doing the championships. You can't get young referees and judges to come up. You can't get them to come up because we don't get expenses. And if you're coming from Kinsale or you're coming from Bantry or wherever, and you have to pay maybe 60, 70 euros in petrol and you're not getting it back, you know, I mean, they can't afford it.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're talking about. We won't stay too long on this, but the council, I know that the directors are there to liaise between sports, who give out the sports grants to the different bodies, and they have to have oversight of that. I understand, but I suppose the communications could be better. But despite all,
Central Council are put in by the clubs, Joe. We're all voted in by the clubs in Ireland into our positions. That's what we're voted into.
Yeah.
The board of directors or as I said, we are a company. And no matter what you do, and people that are going for president think that they can come in and they can tell the board of directors what to do. That doesn't happen, Joe. Once you're a company, the company rules, and that's it.
Well, Anna, I mean, I didn't really, and I hope I didn't put you on the spot.
No, because we didn't actually speak about what's going really on up there, and it's not spoken about.
There's letters flying around the place. People can read all about it anyway, you know, because newspapers never refuse reports of the going on. But it's a pity, despite all of that, we've been incredible. Like you had Katie Taylor gold medal, Kelly Harrington with gold medal. We have Amy Broadhurst and O'Rourke with gold medal. So it's fantastic news, really.
Yeah, but the thing about it, Pat, is we won gold medals before we ever got grants. We won gold medals. Michael Krug won gold medal. So did Barry McGuigan won silver. Huey Russell. You know, we won plenty of medals before we became a company. You know, and before. But what I don't like is, and I say it because I don't care, I don't like Sports Council or that minister telling us how to run our sport when he actually has never come and spoke to the people on the ground or asked our opinions. I mean, they gave 64-page recommendations and said the clubs were in agreement. Clubs didn't get that out to ask whether we're in agreement or not.
I know.
So let them come down to the grassroots, come down to the clubs. We're the shareholders. Let them come down and ask us what we want. But
exactly.
You see, the clubs, some clubs, and I know this, they run their clubs. That's all. They don't care. They'll bring in the kids. They'll box them. They'll spar them. When is our championships on? They don't even realise what's involved in running a championship. As long as they bring their kids up and their kids take part. And this kind of is a little bit of the trouble, you know?
Well, politics and sport don't mix anyways.
No.
We know ourselves. You see Wimbledon now that'll be going on. They're giving ranking points of Wimbledon because of the war, which is another virtue signalling part on the authorities in Wimbledon. But that's what the world is full of today. The Final Whistle is a programme on nearmedia.tv. We had GA matches over the weekend. Time is flying along, lads. Cork, Clare, Galway, Wexford, and they all won in their respective groups. And Chris, you must have been impressed. Chris is a Clareman, lads. Whether he likes it or not, he's a Clareman.
Naturalised Clareman.
You must be impressed with the banner.
Oh, look, we can't believe our luck at this stage. I mean, in fairness, everyone's starting to talk about Clare. I'd be a bit disappointed now, because what we're doing is you know, once they're talking about us, they're leaving someone else alone, and our Limerick won't be talked about for the next 3 or 4 weeks. You see, that's the problem.
That's right.
You know, because the build-up is now going to be for the Munster final and on Sunday week, and everyone's going to be talking about Clare. Which, okay, look, I suppose, they put themselves in that position by 3.5, 4 good performances. I think the most impressive thing about yesterday was, you know, they rested a couple of players. That'd be the right word to use. Tony Kelly needed a break because, you know, he needs a break. John Conlon as well as centre back, and it was nice to see a few guys getting games. Even a lad I know very, very well, Brian Lohan's nephew, Dara Lohan. He came on as a sub with about 10 minutes to go, so it was great to see him get a game. I was actually only talking to him on Saturday, and he kind of dropped the hint, all right, that he was going to get a few minutes. But look, it's great. They put up a bit of a score, which had the little bit of the Harlem Globetrotters about it. You know, they were ruthless to a point. They still had a lot of wides. Let me tell you, that's 16, 17 wides. It's still a lot out of, after getting 331 or whatever. So, I mean, yeah, there's still a little bit to work with. And no doubt that they will be doing that. As for, you know, look, Clare put themselves in that position. You know, at the moment, they're probably joint second in the country with Galway, going on the performances so far. So they're in a good spot. Yeah, see how it goes.
And Martin, you must be looking forward to Galway and Kilkenny. Brian Cody versus Henry Kaplan. Yeah,
the famous handshake. Yeah, that should be good. I suppose a game like that almost takes a life of its own. But I'm not sure about like Leinster finals and Munster finals. Like how what really comes out of that. Like it's the next phase, I suppose. I think for Clare at the Munster final is probably very important. I think for Galway it's really important too. For Shefflin, they'd like to get the win.
Well, they're in the semi-final. They're in the semi-final if you win.
Yeah. So there's a big prize at stake if you do win.
Clare have to win that Munster final, Martin. Yeah. I'm gonna be straight now. I'd be very, very disappointed now. I mean, I remember going down to Thurles a couple of years ago against Cork, where they were well up 4 or 5 points at half time, playing really well, and they collapsed the second half against Cork. I'd be very disappointed if Clare don't go full throttle, because they'll have, if they win it, they've 4 weeks off the semi-final. If they lose, they've 2 weeks to a quarter-final. Just go out, play for it, go for it, win it.
Yeah, I think that was that 2018 when they lost to Cork, and Cork played Limerick in the semi-final, and Clare got to the other semi-final and lost to Galway after replay, wasn't it?
After replay.
Yeah. So, like, even when they lost that, I actually thought they kind of rallied after that loss against Cork, where I felt that game against Cork, they kind of, like, faded out in the second half big time. Yeah. Whilst against Galway, my God, like, how they didn't actually get through to the final is beyond me, because it was in their hands.
Yeah.
And just 1 or 2 mistakes, I suppose, hitting the post. I think it was Shanahan hit the post.
That's correct.
But, like, that's it. Clare at the moment are a team playing that they're almost a replica of their manager, where they're playing almost like it's very, like, remember Ferguson and United would play in such a way that they were never beaten until like the 95th minute, or something like that. And you can see that at the moment with Clare, with Lohan as their manager. There's this serious determination there now, and he's really got a tune out of him. And he's some man to make changes and put guys like, who would have thought John Connon would ever be a centre back? So like he's made some serious changes and turned it around big time. And
Joe, did you get to see any of the hurling?
No, I didn't. No, it wasn't there.
Yeah, well, we're not quite at the quarterfinal. And Anna, did you get to see any of the small ball?
I saw. I listened to the Limerick and Tipperary final. The All Ireland final.
The under 20s. Yeah.
I thought Limerick were very unlucky, but Tip seemed to. It was a Tip. It was, wasn't it? Kilkenny. Sorry. They seemed to be first to the ball the whole time. But it's very hard to go out on one point. And there was a talking point that I was listening about, one of the pints, that it should have been a pint, and it was disallowed, but it definitely should have been a pint.
Well, there was one where the keeper saved it, and the umpire said that it was over the crossbar.
It really wasn't,
and it wasn't. It was given as a point to Kilkenny, but it wasn't.
Because he's hardly hit the crossbar, but your man
no, it didn't.
No. You're wrong. In fact, if you look at it again, the umpire was about 2 yards behind the crossbar, and he's actually starting going for the flag before the ball actually comes towards it, and he's actually thinking, "Oh, this is a point," before the ball actually crossed over. And it seems to me that the GAA have installed a yellow pack, cheaper version of Hawkeye compared to everything else, because they can do the post, but they can't do the crossbar. I mean, that's basically like saying you can buy a pair of shoes without having the shoelaces.
That's true.
But that's sad, because Limerick could have got a replay if that wasn't allowed.
It would have gone to extra time. We don't know what would have happened. We don't know, because it happened early enough in the game.
Yeah.
So we just don't know. And when you see instances like this at matches, the first thing that you would say to your person sitting beside you is, God, I hope that decision doesn't come to bite somebody at the end of the day. And that's exactly what happened, because I can guarantee you this. That official, right? That official is going to be absolutely mortified last night going home, because he knows he's made a mistake. He knows all he needs to do is have one look at that TV show last night or whatever, and he's going to look and he goes, Jesus Christ, what was I at? And this is the biggest problem about GAA official at the moment, is this: you have guys who are doing massive matches, right? Who are wearing shoes that you would go to a dinner dance in. They are wearing shirt and ties, and it could be even 80 degrees, and they're wearing white coats like they're in a mental hospital. And I'm sorry, but those days are over. take a look at Australian rules for a few moments, and you will see that they would have either a young man or a young woman in tracksuits, in runners, and they will run between four posts, and they very, very rarely get it wrong. And they do have technical assistance to get when they get it right. They do have it right. But we in the GAA are too conservative when it comes to our. We try and do the cosmetics instead of doing the nuts and bolts. And the nuts and bolts in this one is that what are we doing having 4 club men off the referee doing umpires? They're not the best guys for the job. They may be lovely mates to have a pint with, but they're not trained up to the usual standard like other sports. And I'm sorry, but they cannot how can you if you have to, how can you run a couple of yards wearing shoes in a shirt and tie with a massive jacket on you? It's antiquated and it needs to stop.
Everybody here with us tonight, I'm sure you're all going to say Limerick are still favourites to win the hurling. Joe, would you say that?
I would think so, yeah.
And Martin, I needn't ask you, do I, that Limerick are still favourites?
There's nothing. I don't think there's a whole lot between 3 of the teams, to be honest. I think on their day they can beat each other. I think the gap is closed big time. It's closed this year. I suppose the elephant in the room, Pat, is Waterford and what's happened there. You know, like I was listening to something there lately where it was actually like they won the league a month ago, and I was listening to an interview Derek McGrath did, and he basically said like whoever beats Waterford will be going up the steps.
That's right.
Well, Clare beat them, Limerick beat them, and Cork beat them. So
I'm not saying
up the steps. They can't
go
up
the steps. You know.
I'm not saying this after the fact. I never rated Waterford at all. Never rated them as a championship team at all in Munster. I rated them where they are, to be quite honest with you. They're a poor team. They don't have 15 top-class players. They have 4 or 5. That's it. You know?
Yeah, but like if you take when they won the league, everyone was saying they're the best squad in the country. And everyone was saying that. It wasn't just Derek McGrath. So, like, when they went to the Gaelic grounds against Limerick, like, that first half, like, if you want to watch a game of intensity and physicality, like, it was absolutely man eat man, like.
They were playing in Waterford at home to a Cork team who were on the floor.
Okay.
They were playing.
I think the Limerick loss, though. I think the Limerick loss deflated them big time.
Yeah.
Huh?
They came to Limerick cock-a-hoop. They'd beaten Tipperary. They'd won the league. They came to Limerick and they said, this is our chance to get these guys. They've beaten us in 2 semi-finals. They've beaten us well. They've beaten us in a final and a semi-final.
Yeah.
This is our chance to turn them over on their own turf.
Martin's point is valid there, because basically they seem to put all their eggs in the one basket against Limerick, thinking we have a chance now to maybe knock these guys out. That's what they were thinking, that if Waterford had beaten Limerick, that would have been a massive dent, because Clare would have been next, and then it'd be Tipperary. I don't think anybody kind of thought how poor Tipperary had turned out to be. But the thing about the Waterford thing is you said about while we all understand that Cork are poor, right, and they're definitely not a good team. You know, they're probably the weakest team they're one of the weakest teams of the six or eight that are left. The point of the matter is that the fierce amount of abuse that the players in Cork got for losing the first 2 matches was horrific. And I mean, you could say that Kieran Kingston, you know, what was he doing coming out and saying our players are nervous? Maybe him doing that took the pressure off the players and said, look, lads, no matter what happens with the rest of the competition, just go out there and play. And they seem to have done that. They seem to have played with a little bit of abandon. I mean, Cork put up a serious tally yesterday, 330 odds or whatever, right? They're serious numbers. They're not. A poor team can't shoot that amount, you know, and be a poor team, if you understand what I mean. So, look, the way I look at it is that I understand your point about Waterford. I think Waterford, I don't know whether it went into serious training just before the league or just after the league. I don't know. But something was amiss. Something was clearly amiss there.
Well, if you take Cork there, just on Chris's point about Cork, so Cork lost first 2 games and they had that game against Waterford. They made the changes then that they haven't made at all. They took Coleman out of centre back and put him in at wing back to put Joyce in at centre back. And that was a huge change because they were struggling big time at centre back. Struggled in the All Ireland final last year. They ripped us under. They ripped us under again down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh against Limerick. There was gaping holes down the middle. So those changes, and they took Tim O'Mahony out of the half back line, moved him off the field. And if anyone watched Tim O'Mahony playing, he's hurling with college and stuff like that. He played at Mary Immaculate College. That's where he was playing. He was playing the half forward line or full forward line. He's one of those flamboyant hurlers that if he gets time and space, he will destroy you. And playing in the half back line where he had a job to do, didn't suit him. So they've made some really good changes, and now you see the fruits of it. But it's not all about there's a numerous factors. But I'm actually shocked what's happened with Waterford. I cannot believe it. It's been such a collapse in the space of a month that they've gone from almost second favourites to being out.
Yeah.
I remember fantastic Waterford teams, and I remember them beating Cork. Cork were All-Ireland final winners in 66. In 1967, Cork came up, and Paddy Barry, namesake, the goalkeeper for Cork, got a rush of blood to the head in that match and used the hurley on the man instead of the ball, and he was sent off, and Waterford won. But do
you not think there's a little bit of the touch of the Mayos about this? Seriously, look at Mayo now, right? I mean, they probably they're one of the worst performances of the last few years against Galway the other week or whatever, right? And now they're in a do or die match against Monaghan, who let themselves down badly against Derry. Yeah. I can guarantee you that match, Mayo and Monaghan, could be the tie of the round in the qualifiers because that's it. There's no second chance after this. And Mayo under serious pressure to play that match.
You've our man Tyrone as well.
Yeah, but I think Mayo, Tyrone have issues about players who are not getting game time, just walking off the panel. Tyrone will not be near an All-Ireland this year. I can guarantee you that. Right? They probably won't even get to the quarterfinals because if you look at Tyrone when they won All-Irelands, they were disastrous the year afterwards. It seems to be that they're a team that you get over the line. They're a bit like a marathon runner. Once they get over the line, they fall flat down onto the ground and they're gasping for air. And it does take them a long time to recover. This could be a similar year to that. I think this could be, and we've said this quite a few times, this could be Mayo's last shot at getting somewhere. And I think Monaghan will be lying in the grass waiting for him.
Before we leave, before we finish up, we go back to soccer. Well, Joe, half time it's 0-0 in the Grimsby Notts County match. So it's and it's in Notts County. The match. It's two legs, isn't it? I think. Yeah.
No. It's a loser out tonight.
Oh, is it? Well, it's 0-0 half time anyway. Liverpool. I saw today, and Liverpool has signed Carvalho from Fulham. Is that a good signing, lads? He's an impressive player, is he?
Well, they've been after him, I think, for a while, and they got him anyway. And I think that we say, if you look at what Klopp has bought, these young players, they've all come true for him. They all come true for him. So he must see something in him that he can bring through,
So we want to...
The reality is they need young players. Liverpool need young players.
Yeah. Because
next year, when they come back to start next year, you're looking at Van Dijk, Salah, Mane, I don't know, Firmino, Fabinho. They're all 29, 30 years of age.
And you have Milner and Robinson.
Robinson, he's 29. Milner is how old is he?
Same age as me,
yeah.
They've done brilliant to do what they've done. Liverpool have not lost a game in 2022.
Now, before we close that, who's going to win the European Cup? Anna, let's better start with Anna. Get Anna's prediction out of the way first. Who's going to Real Madrid or Liverpool, Anna?
My heart will tell me Liverpool, but I really couldn't call it. I want Liverpool, and Liverpool do come strong in finals of the European Cup. But when I saw Man City playing Real Madrid, I thought, they were very superior, But as I said, Liverpool have come through these, and they've often been down 3, as you've all known, and they can come back and win. So I'm just going for the best now.
Okay, and Martin, Liverpool or Madrid?
Liverpool.
Don't mind now being a Man United supporter.
I'd say Liverpool. I'd say Liverpool just for Anna there. Liverpool.
No, I don't want anyone to say Liverpool to me because I'm nervous. I'm very, very nervous. I'm going to a wedding on Saturday.
What do you think, Joe? Liverpool or Madrid?
I think if Thiago is fit for the final, I think Liverpool will win it.
And Chris?
I'm on a bit of a roll here, so I'm going to say Clare for the Munster title, Limerick for the All-Ireland title, just to keep everyone in the panel happy. And I'm going to say Real Madrid for the Champions League.
And Anna, I'll have the last word. Red all the way. Red for the All-Ireland final and red for the European.
You're colourblind, Pat. You always knew you had red, green, yellow issues.
Pat, just one more thing. The Pike Rovers under-12 soccer team won the FAI this weekend. So they beat St. Kevin's Boys 2-0. The semi-final, they beat Shamrock Rovers. So they won up in Pierce Stadium, Janesborough Stadium, Pierce Stadium. So they won 2-0. So fair play to them. It's great.
I think it's a great achievement for them. Really a great, especially against whatever about Shamrock Rovers, but Kevin's Boys are the team in Dublin, in Ireland. If you look at it, and then of course Pike played in the Junior Cup yesterday. They were beaten 1-0 by Villa.
Yeah.
From Waterford.
Yeah, and Fairview have the Munster Junior on Saturday as well.
All right, excellent.
Against St. Michael's.
St. Michael's are tough. They're tough.
Yeah,
anyway, congratulations to the under-12s because it was an incredible achievement, to win it. To reach the final was an achievement, as you said, Martin.
Yeah, I don't know who was the last team from Limerick that won an underage FAI. I don't know. Joe might know. I don't know.
Was it Verger St. Clements? Were they the last ones?
No, Fairview won one since then.
An underage one.
It did?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know that Wembley played in Evans Cup final when I first went to England, but and I know Verger St. Clements won a cup afterwards.
Yeah, I know Pike played in one under 16s.
Now, Martin, I'm talking about the under 17s I'd have been talking about.
Okay.
Fairview won a few years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. But whether that's classified as schoolboy or not, I don't know. But it's a great achievement.
Unbelievable.
It's a great achievement.
Yeah. Anytime you win a national championship, it's a huge achievement.
Yeah. Look at, 6 times. That's the 6th time now Pike have been in a final, and they only won 1 out of them. And I actually think that Robbie Williams, that's their player manager. He played actually, Joe, a professional in England, But I think Robbie, we were playing against them 2 weeks ago. They beat us 1-0. But I have to say, Robbie Williams was in the middle of that field, and he was the one that controlled that team. Now there was 2 other players sent off yesterday.
Right.
So I think one of them was at the very end. And it could be frustration, it could be,
Yeah.
Well, actually, anyway, look, commiserations for Pike. They're still flying the flag. Nice to see it. And the under-12s, fantastic. They beat Shamrock Rovers, you said, Martin, in the semi-final, and St. Kevin's Boys in the final, which is fantastic. So, from this edition of the Final Whistle, from Martin, Anna, Joe, Chris and myself, lads, till we meet again, it's been a blast. Good night, take care, and good luck.
Good night. Have a good week, everybody. Have a good week.